Hello, everybody. Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas. I'm going to do a little story for you today. I think you'll find real interesting, talking about some of the corruption here in Midland, Texas, and what's been in the news lately. Here is a Midland Reporter Telegram article showing Police Association District Attorney Laura Nodolf trade comments about the grand jury case for the Midland Christian school. Okay, and so we're going to go down there and the aftermath of the grand jury decision to indict 5 Midland Christian officials continued Friday. And basically, I'm just going to sum it up in my own words. That my understanding is that there was a young boy that was alleging he was raped with, maybe even with a bat at one of the private schools here, Midland Christian, and by law the officials are supposed to report that. It didn't get reported. The police come in and arrested 5 Midland Christian employees. Okay, so then they did the grand jury indictment, and they did a no bill. Nobody got indicted. Like, no, that was okay. We thought he was lying, or whatever, and so the police association that represents the Midland police officers and the Midland County District's office traded statements, putting at odds the law and order of Midland. Okay, the back and forth from the Midland Police Officers Association declared Friday to weigh in on the grand jury's decision earlier in the week to not indict the 5 MCS officials on charges of failure to report with intent to conceal neglect or abuse of a child. By its own admission, the association decision to comment on the outcome of a case is rare. It is part of the statement from director and whatever. Okay. Here, I want to get down to what they say. Okay. It says the MMPO, the Police Association, advocate for a relentless pursuit of truth for sound investigation for a fair and trustworthy process. Statement says, to that end, has serious concerns about the grand jury process as it was handled by the Midland County District Attorney's Office. This is a police association. Specifically, the Midland Police Officers Association was critical that prosecutors did not have the lead detective from the Midland Police Department testified before the grand jury. Such testimonies are commonplace, especially in sensitive, complex, or high-profile cases. Not having the lead detective appear before the grand jury to present the case and answer questions from the grand jury does a disservice to all parties by potentially limiting the grand jury's ability to make a full and fair determination of probable cause. Okay, and Nodolf responded there, says while a detective may be called as a witness, it's not a common practice, etc. Okay, so basically, I think the insinuation, a lot of people in town, there was a lot of discussions on this on the Facebook and on the boards there, that corruption was going on. There were some payoffs going on, as some important people were involved, and they rigged this case or whatever. Basically, that there was corruption in the DA's office to rig this case. That was the insinuation, is what it was. Here's a picture of Laura Nodolf. That's our district attorney, but she became district attorney in 2017. She wasn't the district attorney when I was ambushed and shot in my home with my phone lines cut by somebody under my home, burglar alarms going off the attic, and then the secret police were caught on camera under my home. She didn't, and that was actually Klingman, and Klingman stepped down. Probably, my feeling, the real reason was because of the underground homes and the crimes, but I don't know that for a fact. And then she was sworn in 2017. Nodolf. I have emails all the way back from here's 2015, December 15, 2015, and I was writing Miss Nodolf. I saw your election advertisement, the short story, and I'm telling her I live, home behind a secluded truck unloading lane, and I'm telling her my story. Basically, I'm not going to read all this to save time. You can print screen that and come back and read that if you want. But basically, this is in 2015 when I'm telling the story about the secret police who were still secret at that time. Okay, and one of them may be Chad Simpson. And then that's what the X-rays being faked at the hospital and all that, and so that was back in 2015 when I got her. Now, here's what I want to read you what I sent to her on May 14th. Because basically, what I was seeing in the news is the police association was sitting there, released that statement insinuating the district attorney's office is corrupt. And my first thought was that, well, that's the pot calling that's the kettle calling the pot black, ain't it, or something? Ain't that the saying or something like that? And I was like, what? Here's the police, the secret police murder gang, first known secret police in the history of America, and they're going off calling other people corrupt. How more corrupt can you get when you sneak under the crime victims' homes? Of a homeowner that was reporting crimes to you, and you sneak under their homes, you tamper with evidence, you lie on the police report, you destroy the life of an innocent homeowner that was reporting crimes to the police, to cover up for cold-blooded killers. That's our police department. 11 of them take 6 years. It's $2,000 reward to get identified, and they're calling the DA's office corrupt. I'm thinking, well, there's a little division here. Let me send another letter to Lord Nodolf, and I did that in May 1 month ago, and I'm just going to read this to you. DA Nodolf, yesterday I read the press release from the police concerning the Midland Christian grand jury no bill, and my first thought was that suggestions of corruption could be pointed right back at them. Let me explain. In November 2008, I transferred to Midland with hope and excitement as a 25-year company man with DCP Midstream. They had offered me a promotion. I then spent my life savings on a home directly behind the Home Depot store. A few weeks before I closed, the young previous owner, Mike Lawhon, died. I was told this was an accident, but I've now found evidence which has convinced me that he was murdered here and taken to Fort Worth. Mike died the week before the 2008 oil show started, which I believe is significant. In October 2010, my friend from work, Angie McGee Hurley, told me about a young girl that was murdered at an oil show party that she was at for refusing to prostitute. I know these parties were held within a 5-minute drive from my home because we were talking on the phone while she drove there. I tried to get Angie to report this murder, but she was afraid and told me that high-level police were also at those parties. In 2013, the remains of a 14 to 21-year-old girl was found outside of Midland, who I suspected was the same girl. I believe the people going to the oil show parties were parking in the Home Depot parking lot, going underground somewhere in that store before coming back to my home in a tunnel that I believe can be seen from old Google Earth maps. It's believed that an underground home is located in my backyard. There's more about this in the videos. I recently provided Lieutenant Gray with the Midland County Sheriff's Office evidence, so I'm hoping that he's working to solve the homicide of the young girl, as well as the others that I were told were connected to my home. A local businessman, Aaron Packelhofer, told me that 4 people had been murdered, died in my home, and a former neighbor, Marilyn DeLuigi, told me twice that Mike died in this house, even though his death certificate says he died in Fort Worth. She also said somebody else died before him. I wondered if that was still missing man, Rini Escobar Sanchez, since he went missing 3 months before Mike died. On November 9, 2010, I reported my first burglary after finding a sliding glass door open when I returned from home. Officer A. Corson called me possible 1096 on the first call when I was a granddad, 27-year company man, and a homeowner. My second call for a burglary was on January 8, 2011, and this was the first time that I heard somebody in the attic. On this call, same officer, Officer Corson, just wrote 1096. He declared that I was crazy. The police refused to go up into my attic both times they were here. I mentioned Corson because he's now the Internal Affairs officer for the Midland Police Department. I found that out after I was going to report him along with the other officers. They have all of their bases covered. A year later, on January 28, 2012, I was ambushed and shot by somebody under my home with my phone lines cut and burglar alarms going off in my attic. I've now identified over 50 other homeowners who have reported people in the attic, with a dozen addresses in Midland and another dozen in Odessa. Many of these calls are recorded directly from my police scanner. The police didn't tell me that these crimes were common and going on all over the place and called me crazy. That seems to be the modus operandi and what they're doing to all of the other crime victims that report people in the attic. When I returned from the hospital after surviving this premeditated murder attempt, I found pictures of 11 police on my home security cameras, but the police report for this night was illegally withheld from me. It was subpoenaed in December 2013 before the protective order hearing, which Detective Rosie Rodriguez perjured herself. I had pictures of police, but no report, so I nicknamed them the Secret Police. Rosie testified at the PO hearing that she found a tripwire on my shotgun, but there's no tripwire in the evidence, and none of the other 10 police at my home mentioned a tripwire, and this includes CSI Marty Barrett, who said he picked up my shotgun and checked it into evidence. Furthermore, multiple proofs show that I wasn't shot with my gun. I believe this felony aggravated perjury since this makes me the victim of a premeditated capital attempted murder, and it looks like I'm just the next guy after the last one. Anyway, I offered a $2,000 reward to anybody that could identify the secret police. 6 years goes by, a repeated break-ins to my home, death threats, and many people asking to order me to sell my home. As you know, this is a violation of the Hobbs Act. In 2018, Empire Private Investigations collected the reward money and identified all 11 of the secret police. The first one seen on camera arriving minutes as after I crawled out was Martin County Sheriff John Woodward, who was followed by the Midland County Deputy Mike Naylor. He died in 2014 when I had a reward offered for his identity. Seen inside my home was Midland K-9 police officer Chad Simpson, and he was the police officer that was alleged to have murdered his wife and then killed himself 2 months after Naylor died. Now we have 2 secret police who are connected to the murder attempt on my life, which is connected to the 2 secret police dead who are connected to the murder attempt on my life, which is connected to the 4 murders, deaths that Packelhofer said happened in my home. In 2019, I found out there was a police report all along, which had been withheld from me for 7 years. I saw that 6 of the 11 police seen on camera had their names omitted, and this included the 2 that are now dead. That is not an accident. It's my understanding falsifying police reports is a felony. I shouldn't have to tell a district attorney that, right? Don't you think that? Here, let me find where I was at. It's a felony right here. Violation of the Hobbs Act, here. Felony, there we go, right here. More importantly, this report timestamped 5 police officers, Davis, Dickey, Chadwell, Angel, and Hale, at or inside my home when they were not seen arriving on the security cameras that had seen Woodward and Naylor just minutes earlier. All of my other windows and doors were secured with extra locks, so this is what proved they came in from a now-removed trap door the ex-wife had already told me about and from where I'd been ambushed and shot from. Police were under my home, and it was somebody under my home that had shot me by surprise. So how did they get under my home? I've now documented multiple people saying there's tunnels and underground homes are here, and found supporting evidence on old Google Maps. In fact, it looks like one of the 4 3-bedroom $1 million underground homes that I was told about is in my backyard. Old Google Earth Maps shows what looks like a tunnel ditch was cut coming from the Home Depot store towards my home. These underground homes are obviously where the oil show parties were held and where that young girl was murdered at that Angie told me about in 2010. In 2020, I was contacting the candidates for the Midland sheriff and telling them my story. I was on the phone with Joe Lozano and told him about these underground homes, and he told me that these underground homes was the hideout for the late sheriff Gary Painter. He didn't know that I had the recorder going, and that's now a YouTube video. There's much more to the story, but that's a good start describing the corruption going on with the Midland police. I would be glad to visit with your investigator and answer any questions that you have. Please watch these videos and you'll see there is an overwhelming amount of evidence to get started. Okay, and then my name and number, and then P.S. on the end. I later paid Empire Private Investigations another $2,000, and Stephen Powell told me over the phone that somebody with MPD provided them proof that Chief of Police Herman was obstructing justice in these crimes and murders at my home, but then they never gave me that evidence. I suspected they were threatened. His number is this. Maybe you could get this evidence for him. Proof that I wasn't shot with my gun. Video, pictures of the secret police video, murder of Michael Hahn video, 2010 oil show party video, what is known about the underground homes video, history of the people in the attic video, missing man Rini Escobar Sanchez. Remember, this was all sent to our district attorney Nodolf there, and here, let me. There's the email address there. I mean that to pop up and do it one more time. There we go, right there. That was the address that was sent to Larnota, and it didn't bounce back and said, "Oh, this is a bad address," So I suspect she got it. I mean, there's no reason to think that she didn't get it. So anyway, I just thought y'all would find that interesting. Here you got the police calling, pretty much, saying that insinuating Nodolf was corrupt, and so I contacted Nodolf, but here we are. This is Midland, Texas. I'm still living under. I've heard somebody mad just a second ago. These crimes have been going on day after day after day after day. And why? Because there was a young girl murdered in the backyard at a party police were at. This Midland, Texas, Buddy Webb.